Welcome back to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today. We got a fascinating guest who I appeared on his podcast previously, and I was just so intrigued with his journey and story. I'm going, dude, you got to come on the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. His name is Engel Jones, and he's from and lives in Trinidad Tobago. I even asked him to make sure I pronounced it correctly. And here's his fascinating story in a nutshell by kind of a way of an introduction, and then we're going to dive into it. 2016, Engel decided he was going to have a goal to have 1,585 conversations in 1 year with people around the world. After 9 months, he had achieved 76 podcast conversations and was about to give up until inspiration hit like a bolt of lightning. He ended up at the end of the year achieving 1,077 conversations out of 1,585, but that wasn't enough for him. 2017, he set another goal to have 800 conversations in 12 weeks, focusing on sharing other podcast hosts' narratives. He achieved 813. Inspired about that, meeting that goal and continuing on, in 2018, he set another goal: meet 1,001 past podcast guests across the U.S. and Canada. Get this, in 12 weeks, interviewing them face to face. He and his wife Amanda were able to visit 48 states and record 349 of these conversations. And he'll be the first to tell you he shares this experience to inspire you, not to brag about himself, to go after that burning calling that you have to do what you love. There's always a way. And he also will tell you there are no excuses. If he can achieve these types of goals and aspirations living on an island, he believes you can do the same. Now, at a certain point, and we haven't talked recently, but I know he's recorded over 2,400 podcasts, over 300 video interviews while traveling and driving over 18,000 miles. And this all started with one conversation, then another, and it just kept building. Engel, welcome to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. I so want to get into the rest of the story and your inspiration and what you're doing now.
Thank you for having me, my friend. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a blast. Now, my first question, as I was reflecting on our earlier appearance on your podcast, which, by the way, folks, it's hashtag, or if you're old like me, we used to call it the pound sign, but hashtag 12, the number 12, MINCONVOS, 12 Men Convos, which stands for 12-minute conversations. Why? Well, first of all, it's a two-part question. Why 1,585? Really an odd number, literally an odd number, and what was the inspiration? What to do 12-minute conversations with 1,585 people?
There were two things happening parallel. One was actually being in a mastermind group by Aaron Walker, who was connected to Dave Ramsey. And being in that group, I wanted to speak with everyone, and I thought everyone should then speak with everyone. And together with Nico Mellet, we came up with a 12-minute structure. Because if you ask someone for 15 minutes of their time, it feels like too much. If you ask for 10 minutes, it feels like too little. But 12 minutes hits a spot where someone usually would say, I could do 12 minutes, right? So that's one part of the idea. The second part is where Johnny Dumas had a podcast, or has a podcast, called Entrepreneur on Fire. and I would listen to that while I did my 9 to 5. And this guy was doing a podcast a day, 7 days a week. And I thought at some point after attempting to inveigle my wife into podcasting after she gave up, I thought, all right, it's my time. Let me develop the skills that Johnny Dumas has and possibly expand on it for the places I would like the conversation to go, the ones that I was listening on his podcast. If I could get that skill, the only way I could is if I did what he did. So I calculated what episode number he would be at the end of 2016. And it would have been 1,580. So I wanted to beat him. So super competitive. You'll learn over time, yeah. So it was 1,585. And that's where that mysterious number came from.
Oh, so you got that competitive spirit besides the entrepreneurial, visionary outlook.
Yeah, super competitive, but I've gotten older now and wiser, I would think. So yeah, pain and what makes sense taps into when I'm doing something. But yeah, it's ever present. Yeah, I'm willing to burn my feet off to win the race, even though I know I couldn't win the other guy. Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, I'll give it my all.
And and your wife, Amanda, she actually kind of came around and's like, hey, this was, I don't know, would you say it was a great idea, or hey, we get to see all the United States and Canada. I'm in for that.
Yeah, that was a great experience. But for those that are listening, it's very important, I think, that they understand that these things have been steps, yeah. And it looks huge, like a Colorado mountain today, right?
Yeah.
But it was definitely steps. We did our first road trip mistakenly, I would say, uh, because we got trapped in Tennessee. This is the first time my wife is traveling to the US. And we did connecting flights from Miami to Tennessee. And we visit for a conference. At this time, I'm all into Dave Ramsey, right? So we're doing. I did entre leadership, and that was my first time back out into the U.S. as an adult. I'd been there previously as a child. So I'm there 2013 part. I get huge experiences, right? I'm driving. I rent a car. I'm driving. In fact, I'm actually wearing what I bought in 2013, yeah, because I thought it would be cool. When I looked at it, I was like, wow, I still have this thing, right? To show up for the podcast in this. And as well, let it be a testament to the value of when God places a vision in your heart, how he provides, yeah?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I get to Tennessee. I get a test drive in Miami from my best friend who lives there. And then, yeah, I get to the airport. It's the middle of the night. I get driving. 2015. My wife is now with me. I'm showing her everything I learned, right?
Yeah.
And we're snowed in, which is weird for Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen, but it's our first time experiencing snow, right? And I'm at the airport because we need to get back. At that time, I had my two sons with my mother, and I wanted to get back home, right? Because my sons could be a handful, and that was a promise, right? I would get back. So I thought someone in the line, my friend, said, you know, if you could get a rental, you could drive out to another airport and, catch a flight from there. And yeah, you talk about Amanda, my wife, and yeah, it's amazing how she goes along with these adventures. Because she's so different from me. She's the complete opposite. You'd think she's the one who says, yeehaw, but she doesn't, She's the one who looks like you could see fear in her eyes. Like when I said, yeah, if I get the rental, I could drive, and she looks at me, and of course the snow and the plow that we passed by, and she says, yeah. And she goes along, and we do it. My friend, that first drive from Tennessee to Florida, like the first hour was terrible. After that, wow, the beauty, the experience, the serenity when she was asleep and listening to an audio book and just being present with the fact that it's possible. It's a beautiful thing to be able to drive from state to, I think, right? Probably because I'm the country guy, right? Or the
Yeah.
island guy. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful experience road tripping. So that was my first road trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way in 2013.
Wow. So, uh, what, because you mentioned God and that moment of inspiration or confirmation, whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, a lot of people are probably listening going, man, yeah, I would love to do that if I was in my 20s and didn't have any cares in the world. And you mentioned you have two sons.
Right.
What what was the reality that, as opposed to, because people hear the story, but they're not seeing behind the scenes. Strategic wise, did you do strategic planning, or was this, hey, we'll flip a coin and take off and see where we go?
So when we did that in 2013, we had just gotten out of debt because of Dave Ramsey's 7 steps, yeah, 7 baby steps. And I remember being so excited for the first time in my life to be debt free. And then having the opportunity to get across there for entre leadership. I was so I was so engrossed in everything Dave Ramsey because there was a template that I could use that worked, that got me from point A to point B. And I love systems. Grew up just loving systematic ways of applying myself. So financially, I was in a good place because of that. Yeah. And if anything, it was a celebration. But definitely the decision to actually do something like what we did then, as mentioned before in 2013, was, it was an emergency, right? I needed to get home. Fast forward to 2016 when we're doing the road trip. We're going into it as a result of our financial stability, but we don't have all of the money. We're looking at visiting the US and Canada. When we began, the 48 states was not the idea. We didn't plan to visit 48 states and Canada. We just thought we would visit the countries, the states where the most guests were, right? Because I'm in 1585, I'm like 1580 something podcasts by now, guests that have returned to the podcast, and there's a relationship building. So we could visit. And that was the adventure. In fact, the word that I'd use is faith. Today, my wife asked me, what is faith? And I told her, I believe faith is a manifestation muscle. If exercised, it builds. If not, it remains weak. And yeah, you could always justify why you shouldn't do something. And I get that. However, I believe when purpose becomes clear, the decision is easier, especially when it's counterculture. Everyone in the islands, I've never met anyone who told me, hey, I want to visit the 48 states from the islands. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really going against the grain. with what I believe my purpose is, but truly it connects from the perspective of exploring the power of a conversation. I've just had so many conversations and seen the power of it and how it's transformed my life that I'm all in. Yeah, I'm diving into the pool head first, and that is exactly what happened. So as we got into this, and again, for those listening who may think it's not possible, the signs and the opportunities that we experienced were not calculated. They weren't strategized, other than plotting the trip, plotting where we were going to be and when we're, as I said, I'm a systems guy, right? What day we would be in what state. That's the only thing I had. I didn't have all of the money. In fact, we didn't raise all of the money we wanted to raise for the project, right? So we took our savings, said if we rent the car, well, at least we know we have the vehicle. And if I have enough gas, which I didn't, money, right, set aside, then we could make it. But my friend, wow, faith, I'm telling you, we did it. And we didn't have all of the money. We didn't have all of the I's dotted and T's crossed, but we did it. And now that sits as a legacy block for not just myself and my wife, but hopefully for my grandchildren, definitely for my children. Yeah. And I'm hoping my children's children, yeah, that they
Yeah.
could understand. Yeah, Grandpa Engel did it, or great Grandpa Engel did it. We can do it as well.
Well, so a lot of people, when they think about faith, they think, okay, well, I'm gonna ask God X, Y, or Z, but I really don't expect it to happen because, and then fill in the blank, whatever reasons. And it's usually in a time of crisis is about the only time people pray. When you're talking about God and this purpose, can you share a little bit about what that looked like for you? I mean, did you have a formal prayer life kind of approach? Because you said you like systems, and I'm Catholic. Yeah, I say the Rosary every day. But what was that like for you? I don't know if I'm making my question clear enough.
100%. You're looking for what was or what were the building blocks of this thing that we're talking about spiritually. Yeah. For me, I would say one of the things we did, we would fast weekly. So at the beginning of the week, Monday for us, we would say at the beginning of the work week, we'd do one fast, which would go like 8 hours or 12 hours. Yeah. That was powerful. And because there were times on the road that we actually fasted as a matter of survival. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we're not eating just because financially it was challenging to get food at that point in time. Yeah. So that was cool because it's really playing with your perspectives in terms of what you're doing, why you're doing it. But we're stronger because it's not the first time we're doing it. Yeah. And then again, the perspective is it's only temporary. Yeah. So fasting has definitely been one of those building blocks. My prayer life, I remember being introduced to this guy who does the morning rituals. What is the name of Pat? Is it Pat Hal Elrod? Yeah. So he has this thing. It's kicking me now. So it's I'm sure people that are listening are like, yeah, I know what he's talking about. But it's this morning ritual where you within 1 hour you're able to hit a few things off, yeah? And it's how does it go? So it's prayer. Oh my gosh, 1 second. The power of technology, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's do
Well,
this.
while you're doing that, it's simple things. It's habits, and when I wake up, my feet hit the floor, my ritual is "Thy will be done." I say that either in my head or out loud, literally because that's the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, if I'm praying that, I better darn mean it and live it. So that's how I start the ritual of the day, and then my dog has me trained in some other rituals like Dad, feed me and take me out.
Right.
But so did you find it?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Okay, yeah. So
Savers.
what's the ritual?
Yeah, so acronyms are huge for me, right? SAVERS is actually the thing, yeah, and it stands for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. So he couldn't get a W in there, so he used scribing instead of writing, right? Which is the journaling concept. And yeah, that was powerful. I remember having Hal on the podcast. At that time, I'm interviewing like 25 people a day and didn't realize who he was just mere minutes before having him on the podcast. And his interview, there's an interview style that I really love, that I've learned now that I love, and Hal brought it. And I remember going and getting the book after. It's called The Miracle Morning. And that is something I implemented in 2016 that, again, connected with the system sides. If you're looking at even the Dave Ramsey model, where there's a system that I can connect with and then competitively run hard with that thing, yeah? So again, silence, which is meditation, right? Affirmations, huge. Like even before he came in, I remember doing Zig Ziglar's. Zig Ziglar has this thing where you read it while looking at yourself in the mirror 3 times a day, right? Whether it's before a meal or after a meal. Again, another system that I put into action that helped, right? Keep me consistent. But with Hal's model, while working a day job, I was able to get fuel before going to work, yeah? And again, silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, yeah?
Wow. Um. So this all I'm playing the devil's advocate a little bit here.
Yeah, go for it.
That you've been on this journey for 13 years now. Okay. Tell us the not so successful side of things. I mean, what are some of the obstacles and challenges that you faced that maybe didn't turn out the way you wanted or hoped for? Because this is not a walk through an English rose garden journey that you've been on. So, what are some of the gut punches that you had to deal with, and how did you deal with them? Particularly if it was, man, I don't want to say you felt like a failure, but it's like, man, that I didn't achieve what I really wanted to in this particular conversation or this particular event.
Yeah. If we did the podcast on only that, we could go for hours, yeah. So even when I started the podcast with my wife and I asked her, she did a book called Poems for You and Your Neighbor, Health Disorder Simplified. And then after doing the event, it was like, all right, so what next? I was like, you should do a podcast. And I remember getting into the studio, booking studio time for a podcast. Folks, this that you're seeing here, this is next level budget in terms of being able to economically produce, right? Back then, I'm paying for studio time, right? My wife gets in, we have guest visit, and she decides to end it. I start podcasting. I'm in the studio as well, right? I have this goal of 1,585. When I go back and listen to those conversations, I'm so ashamed of that guy, right? Because you should hear me, at the beginning, and I'm telling people while I'm speaking, yeah, the goal to 1,585. I get to 76. It's September, and I'm about to give up. Yeah, I literally think it. I mean, come on. If you're at 76 in 9 months, statistically, why would you even do anything else? Yeah, like come on, like it doesn't make any sense, right? And that's an example of one of the times that you set this huge faith step and it doesn't work, right? So that is one of them. Another time when we did the trip, in terms of, no, please bear in mind, I took a year no pay leave at that point in time, yeah? So that's why I was able to do what I did while working. I returned to work in 2017, thinking in 2016 that I would actually hit gold, that I'd strike gold somewhere with the podcast and not have to return to my day job, yeah? Oh, talk about a gut punch, having to go back to work, right? Not, yeah, the podcast was good. We got downloads, but no one came out and said, hey, I want to sponsor this podcast. You would think that that level of work would have created such of a return, yeah?
Yeah.
And then even with the road trip, I remember we're going out there. And again, I don't want gratitude to be removed for what we did experience from those that showed tremendous love on the journey. But at some point, you're thinking, probably this could get picked up by a TV station nationally, right? Like maybe locally in my country, people would actually realize the level of achievement that has occurred here. Gut punch, yeah?
Yeah.
And then I think another one I'd highlight, just to keep it short, yeah, and not go the distance of washing my dirty laundry, right? is 2019. I leave my day job to enter into full-time entrepreneurship. And 2020, COVID hits, yeah. And then the reality of what business looks like in Trinidad really unfortunately dies for the most part, yeah. And being able to power through that. So fast forward to 2025, we're still entrepreneurs. I've not gone back to work. I've been working even more than if I was at my day job, right?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur. But definitely, yeah, tons of gut punches. I think one of the reality that hit home for us is that what is taught in the US is not fully applicable in other places because of the terrain. The marketplace of the United States of America, or even the entirety of North America, even though I still think Canada is a lot different from the US, even with markets, because there's a majority of the books that are coming from the US with the mindset that's built with the default of what the market is for the person in the US, the person who is in the Caribbean or any other place but the US has a disadvantage because the marketplace by default is not there. So when you're subscribing to a format or a model, it's to your disadvantage that you're thinking about doing what someone from the US or again North America has done, but it doesn't work that way. Well, at least it's not work that way for us.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting point to make is that and I have not traveled. I mean, I was born in Ireland, so I came from an island, but I was 16 months old when I got adopted. And I hadn't been literally out of the United States until 1997, right before I turned 40. And we went to Ireland, and I had this, I guess, TV movie impression that Ireland is going to be all you know uh, green fields and blue sky, and just it's going to be this the Emerald Isle. That's what it's called, and and it is a beautiful country. And my wife she kind of cracked on me a couple days after we were there. Is we went to Dublin, and I'm like, man, this is ghetto. I mean, it's kind of how it's the city's over 1,000 years old, but it was all concrete and motorcycles everywhere. The average age, the median age was like 29 years old, and it was just so busy and so crowded. 1 million people live in the city of Dublin, kind of deal. And I'm like, man, that bubble just got busted. But the flip side, and you're seeing it now, right now, with the FIFA World Cup here in the U.S., all the Europeans and other nations fans that are coming are going, I had no idea the United States was this beautiful and this friendly and the food this great, kind of deal. We become so provincial minded, I think, and we do not have the lived experience of what it's like in other countries, and we just expect X, Y, or Z is going to be what we encountered. When we went to Spain and we hiked the Camino, Santiago, and Madrid. Oh, what a beautiful country! How friendly everybody was, and I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, but we were treated like truly appreciated guest. And then doing 70-80 mile hike on the Camino, how beautiful the country is. And I think that's one of the downsides, if you will, that we become so provincial minded individuals and have false expectations of what other people, how they should live their lives. Yeah. But end of my preaching. So from because this journey now you've been on 13 years, and your accountability, consistency, and excellence mindset. How do people get to that place where you're at? In a way, not to be like you identically, but to break that, what do they call it, limiting mindsets. What are some practical things that work for you to keep that mindset growing instead of throwing up throwing up your arms and giving up?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's similar to a gym where if you want to exercise a specific muscle, then you focus on that thing, but with grace, yeah? So that guy that did those things years ago has had more grace grow up with him today. And I've realized that if you gently approach the vision that you have for yourself with grace, it helps. So the 12-week thing that you would see trending across my life was by intentionality. I remember the book, The 12-Week Year, and having that for anyone that's listening is important. So we've built through the Zig Ziglar model, mental, spiritual, career, physical, financial, personal, and family. And what I've done there is put a goal. So this is the starting point, yeah? Like one thing that I could do daily or weekly or monthly over a 12-week period and measure that so that there's accountability if shared with someone else. Hey, I'm doing this mentally. Let's say, for example, read 24 books in 12 weeks. Then even if we go to read 12 books in 12 weeks, then it's one book a week. But then we're taking it down a step again. So, okay, if I'm reading one book a week, how many pages does that book need to have? there's some really cool books that have 20 pages, right?
Yeah.
So, so you could then take that down and say, okay, if I do 2 pages a day, then I can get through this book. That has been my secret sauce, taking the big goal and just breaking it down into pieces and then systematically approaching it or not. A major part of my success has been not. However, if there's a place that I can see where zero happened, then that catapults me to doing more at some point, right? Sometimes with procrastination, too late, and and to my disadvantage again. However, it's grown to be advantageous. I've realized, okay, I don't have as much soul on my feet to burn out. So I think I'm going to do this from the get go. If I set it for 12 weeks and I can actually get more in at the beginning, again, I taught myself that from my mistakes by having a place where I've seen it and then following through with that. So we coined something called create a brand of yours. And yours is an acronym for your own unique real self. I think that models and methods are very good. Like someone discovers what has worked for them. And I did that as well when I got the Dave Ramsey 7 steps, and I wanted the world to hear about the 7 steps. But I think when you use a model intentionally looking to define who you are and then use your style to then define where you're going, it works better. Yeah. If I'm taking the model of another person, there's some level of falseness that comes in at some point where it just doesn't resonate as much as it did at the beginning. But if I used it to define who I am by looking at it all right, so for quick example, my journaling may be 3 lines, yeah? Another person journaling might be 3 pages, right? Then that's your style. The principal thing is that the emotion that came from journaling is achieved, and hopefully we all are better people at the end of it, yeah?
Yeah. What comes to mind to put it in I don't want to say a different perspective. I agree with you 100%. And what came to my mind as you're describing that is there's a 15-year-old kid, Carlo Acutis. He's now a saint in the Roman Catholic Church, born in 19 died in 2006. So 1991, died in 2006 of leukemia. And one of the things that struck me most in reading about his very short life, he had, for a 15-year-old, he had this understanding, and I'm paraphrasing it. He said, we're all born unique, but sadly many of us die a photocopy of somebody or something else. And that, yes, it's okay to have a model that somebody else has created, but don't define yourself by Dave Ramsey's success. Or I remember the commercials, you're not old enough, Michael Jordan, when they came out with his basketball shoe, and it was like, be like Mike. So everybody wants, hey, if I get these tennis shoes, these basketball shoes, I'm going to be able to slam dunk, and I'm going to go into the NBA. And we have this false sense of modeling somebody else to the point where we're actually just trying to imitate them, not learn from them. And again, my brain was like doing this, going spinning. I'm thinking, Book of Jeremiah says, God knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb and consecrated us before we were born. That means before we were ever even created in our mother's womb. The word "knew" means love in the scriptural sense. He loved us before we were created, and he consecrated us. That means he gave us a purpose and for a reason. And part of our journey is discovering those gifts and talents and purpose that God created for us. And yes, we can learn from others scripturally, the Beatitudes. There's so much. There's what a model the Bible is, but it never in there does it say, be like Paul or be like Peter. No, it's be like Christ, and then using your unique talents, which is that's the message I hear from you, and that is so encouraging and inspiring. So, what about the folks that are going, man, dude, I'm just not sure how to do any of this?
Yeah, it's
What do you say to them?
Well, just to piggyback on what you said, right? Just to summarize it in a way I think fits is the concept and understanding of where knowledge comes from. When the story of Adam and Eve is told, there's a there's a there's a fearless movement that's happening. Go name the animals. No one says, "Oh, look, there's a lion. Why would I even go close to that thing?" Right? But then when the enemy, and I'm doing air quotes here, when the enemy comes in and brings knowledge, all of a sudden fear steps in. The reality of who we're created to be really is represented in what you're expressing, which is receiving the knowledge that God is giving you. The plot points of setting goals allows you to get crystal clear on how you hear from God. That's been my go-to for goals. When I did the first podcast, I was testing God. One of the questions I would ask is, do you believe in God? Yeah, like the quick fire, the bullet questions, whatever you would, the quick fire questions, right?
Yeah.
And one of the questions would be, are you married? Do you believe in God? Do you watch TV for more than 8 hours, less than 8 hours? I was testing God, my friend. I wanted to see if if it really was possible with my strength, and where exactly would God show his face. Yeah. So just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah.
Ask me a question again, the next question. Did you lose it too?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
lost it. So yeah, we could do a high five on that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think you were saying in terms of for the person, like how do they approach
Yeah.
it? Right?
Yeah. How
Yeah.
yeah, the best advice to somebody that you would have that they come out to you and go, I hear what you're saying. I think I understand it, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I would say have a conversation with someone in whichever way meets your needs at the point in time. So what does that mean? It means, hey, if you need to get the book that aligns with the thing you're envisioning and read that book, then do that. If that's the thing that you can reach at. If you need to listen to the podcast, then do that of the person. Like identify the person that you can model. And I think you need to do that prayerfully, because some level of guidance, and I'm not saying stop at prayers, yeah, because
Yeah.
it may be bouncing up against things that don't work immediately, but at least actioning the process will get you to the place that you ultimately desire. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that, like, get into that. For us, that system of setting a goal is the thing I can give freely and say, yeah, like just write again, mental, spiritual, career, physical, financial, personal, family. Add one thing, say one thing. Mental, we have used read a book a week, spiritual, pray daily, read the Bible for us, right? Career, all right, where do I want to move in my career? Okay, maybe I need to do one course per week or one course per month or one course over the 12 weeks period. Physical. How could I exercise? Like, do I do 10 push ups daily? Is it a start for me to simply walk daily? Right? Personal. It's been the toughest goal I've seen with clients. I've seen two people who actively pursue their personal goal and put it at the forefront. And I've seen how successful they've been. Two people. Other than that, when I ask, what's your personal goal? It's amazing to see how someone pulls back on treating themselves well first. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
But personal looks like a massage once a month. Some for the women, sometimes it's they go to the pedicure, manicure, like in a second, right? Physical, as I mentioned, right? Family, is it a meeting weekly? Do you meet daily with your family? Do you go somewhere with your family? If it's weekly, again, you could put the thing at the pace that your life matches, and then financial, right? Financial is the big one, right? Financial is the one that has us working two jobs or three jobs, right? Financial. What is your financial goal? How much do you want to make over 12 weeks? And by beginning with that, the process of actioning it then gives you clarity of what you actually connect with, and you get to listen to you. There's no other powerful voice than God. Your voice is that powerful. Yeah. When you understand yourself and hear from yourself that, hey, yeah, you should do this, then yeah, there's nothing stopping you.
Wow. How important is from because you have accountability, consistency, and excellence is kind of your three
The value system.
value system. How important is it for you uh, to have somebody that you're accountable to? That's going to call you out on. Hey, you said you tell them, "Oh, my goal is in the next 12 weeks, I want to save $250. Whatever it is, I want to put
Right.
$100 into savings." Do you recommend you have somebody that you go to and literally go, "Hey, don't be nice. Tell me how am I doing? Give me." I call it a battle buddy, call it a wingman, call it whatever you want. Do you incorporate that in your 12-week processes?
Yeah, 100%. So let's imagine the 12-week sheet. Let's imagine we're looking at a sheet that is blocked off into weekly and daily, right? And your goal is there. Then what I've seen is the success of how you attain your goals connects with who you're sharing it and how much you're interacting with the thing. It's similar to a vision board, yeah? If the vision board is tucked away in the basement and you did the thing, right? You put the pictures, you put the house, you put the car, you put everything there, but it's in the basement. For some reason, even though you would get it because you did it, there's a difference of having it on your front door or one of the best place that I'm sure you visit, the toilet, yeah, bathroom mirror, right? Like you put that there, and again, for us, testing and seeing the results of having it in the basement versus having it in the toilet, like right in front the wall, right in front of the toilet, be it a mirror or just a wall, or even by the toilet paper. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is the power of that of accountability. So with a buddy or a friend, for me, my immediate accountability partners are my children and my wife. We meet daily on, I mean, it varies, right? So, guys, don't get worried. It varies, right? And just recently, we did something where we thought, all right, if we didn't get the daily, what would it look like to get the number still? right? So we've been doing an hourly thing. We're actually on the last end of a 12-week goal this week, and we've been meeting hourly because we missed that many, right? And it's been such of a beautiful experience seeing my children and my wife and encountering them. And again, I would not have gotten to this place if not for the mistakes. Yeah. So accountability, 100%. That person who is able to interact with the same data you're seeing, 100% works for the benefit of both of you. Yeah. Because there's a growth that comes by me seeing what my children are pursuing and they're seeing what I'm pursuing. Guess what happens? They want to help me and I want to help them, right? Achieve their goal, right? Because I
Yeah.
know the inner workings of what they're doing. But if the communication isn't there with accountability, then yeah, 100%. Consistency, oh, it's such a powerful play word right now, right? Like, who is consistent and how do you achieve consistency? Consistency is exactly that. It's a muscle similar to faith that builds once you keep exercising it. And then excellence, oh, that word excellence, right? Like, why do you need to pursue excellence? Again, excellence in the principles of the thing that you're pursuing is so much more important than the thing being excellent. Yeah? Because if I'm powering up a principle and I'm doing that in excellence, at some point it builds momentum and then it automates, right? Now I'm reading books for a longer time because I set the principle in place, which was to consistently pursue the goal, right? Nothing else. And
Yeah.
then, well, a habit, yeah? Some people call it a habit.
Yeah. Well, and other people, you're creating a culture that
Beautiful.
of what you expect and accept from yourself and the way you think, talk, and act. And then if you hold yourself that accountability, that consistency, and that say that expectation, and what I'm going to accept is I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to strive for excellence in everything I think, say, and do. And that gives you the credibility when you are then interacting, particularly in the workplace or even in the family, that you hold that same expectation and acceptance out to the people that you work with or that work for you or you work for them or even your own children. If you are displaying that mindset of excellency, then you have the credibility to expect the same thing from them. You're what do they call it? You're walking the talk.
Yeah. Or more is caught than taught. Yeah. More is caught than taught. Culturally in organizations, if the leader is sleeping around with women, guess what happens? Yeah. The
Yeah,
the the ones at the bottom level of the organizational structure, they get away with it. If the leader has integrity, all of a sudden it's not the thing I can go tell the boss I did when I took an hour off. Yeah. It works. More is caught than taught.
yeah, awesome, man. Engel, what's the one question I didn't ask you that you were going, Pat? I hope you asked me this. I hope you asked me this. What's the one question? Because the answer is something you really want the audience to walk away with.
Nah, you did well, my friend. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, man. I took a ton of notes. I'm going to have to get you back on because there's so much stuff I'd like to follow up on and and see where you're on this 13 years into this journey. We could probably have a whole episode just on what's the next 10 years look like for you and your vision board, your dream, your vision, your calling, your vocation. So offline, we'll talk about how we're going to make that happen. How can people reach out to you? They go, okay, this really resonates with me. I want to know more. I want to learn more. How do they do that?
12minconvos.com. 12minconvos.com is a very cool portal to connect you to the podcast and then to me. Yeah.
Awesome. And we'll get that highlighted a lot in the show notes and pushing this thing out. Any last final thoughts?
I think the biggest goal that we've set so far is visiting 195 countries over the next 5 years and having 5,000 conversations with Jesus believers in the next 5 years. That will be my next big thing. And hopefully when I have a conversation with you in the future, I'll be able to say there is value in doing that slowly and steadily, being the tortoise versus the hare.
There you awesome. So this is going to come out totally spontaneously. We're in 75 countries. Should people in those 75 countries just jump on your website and they can send you a message and go, hey, come and visit us and we'll provide the hospitality. You'll have a place to sleep and some food to eat. I mean,
yeah, sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. Again, we're really diving into the Jesus believer story. I'm not saying that I'll only stay by Jesus believers, though, right? But yeah, definitely. Even if they want to start by simply having and sharing their testimony with us, we're all game for that.
Awesome. I'm going to add to my prayer list is that people listening to this, that are people of faith, as a Christian faith, don't hesitate, don't think about it twice, is to reach out to Engel and go, I believe in your mission and vision, and what can I do to help support you? Mm-hmm. And it's that's kind of like, the 72 disciples, not the apostles, not the 12 apostles, 72 disciples. He sent them out 2 by 2, told them, don't take anything. And they come back and are just ecstatic with the power and authority that they had because they obeyed Christ and had that faith of going out. And I haven't Googled it yet. I bet there's something on AI that can tell me, based on Scripture, New Testament, tell me what you think, how many miles Christ and the apostles walked in 3 years. In 3 years.
Yeah, I would be blown away. But I would imagine a lot. Yeah, if you track, I would imagine a lot.
Oh, it's got to be. And then even the apostles after the resurrection, and just go to the ends of the world, and they did the world as they knew it. Engel, it was what an honor to have you on the show. I appreciate you so much and what you're doing and the opportunity you gave me to be on your show. And to our audience, if this message resonates with you, which I'm sure it is share it with other people who need to hear this message and be that person of influence and impact. And you don't have to know what happens next. Just as I end every episode with, is always, always strive to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons, because that's what warrior servants and leaders do. And we're a community that is growing and sharing this message, and we're so glad for you to be a part of it. Love y'all, and see you next week.